When it comes to first-person shooter games and their core function of providing the user with an immersive playing experience, Battlefield and Call of Duty are no exception. They both capture the violent, horrific, yet the most empowering and heroic moments experienced by individuals of the past world wars and modern-day human conflict. Game developers have the capacity to transform fictional characters into virtually real people. Through the uses and gratifications theory, one may engage with story-driven games in gaining the satisfaction of experiencing a personal relationship with a character. Not only do they provide a thrilling and fast-paced gaming experience with the viewer, first-person shooters framed by past and present events are impactful in educating us about the world through encountering experiences we may or may not have ever seen before, thus altering or reinforcing our ideas on human existence. The experiences we will explore in this video are suffering and heroism, shared by soldiers and victims of war. I have set up a coding book adopted from Zeglin's CMNI Inventor, where I have operationalized the themes of suffering and heroism into 6 factors that served as criteria, measured against the behaviors of 12 total characters. In The Last Tiger of Battlefield 5, the most frequently occurring factor of suffering was loss and grief of fallen comrades as well as distress. The protagonist Peter Meller demonstrates his grief over the death of Kurtz, who was shot by Schroeder. The distressed tone of Meller yelling, "Kurtz! Kurtz!" highlights his immediate outpouring of grief towards emotionless Kurtz, who was a valued tank driver, and displaying the camaraderie they shared. Aubrey Enable believes that art is defined by how it moves people emotionally and that computer-mediated interactivity can bring people's thoughts and feelings closer. The Last Tiger is an example of this. It brings people's thoughts and feelings closer to the collective grief that we inevitably encounter when we grieve the loss of a loved one. Hence, we share a personal relationship in grieving with Muller. The tank can be viewed as a motif and metaphor of home and family because the characters are working together to survive. Therefore, The Last Tiger is impactful in reinforcing our outlook on human existence as temporary because at some point in our lives, we lose something we value, and then we cry. In Battlefield 1, the runner exhibits a more positive tone, portraying a courageous Frederick Bishop serving as a high-ranking Anzac soldier at the Gallipoli Peninsula. In the frequency table, the total numbers of heroism outweigh suffering by 3, revealing this narrative to be more empowering and appealing to good human morals. Towards the end of the story, Bishop is seen undertaking a daring solo conquest of killing the occupants of an Ottoman fortress. The close-up shot of Bishop's face, the symbolism of the flare paired with the uplifting Macedonian singing, confronts the audience with the raw heroism of Bishop, saving the lives of many Anzac soldiers, thus evoking his bravery and courage through his sacrifice. Iron Begos states that mainstream society perceive video games as inconsequential because they serve no cultural or social function. This is not the case due to the potential of video games to educate us about moral character. Zeglin elaborates this through a male viewer's relationship with fictional male characters, that they are able to identify with the positive pro-social qualities of their own masculinity. Likewise for us, we are inspired to emulate the positive values of Bishop, who demonstrates leadership and bravery, thus illuminating the impact of this story in perhaps influencing us to instill goodness throughout our lives. The most salient theme of No Russian was undeniably suffering through the factor of inflicting violence and harm. It exemplifies people's use of video games to form a hostile relationship with antagonists and having the desire to succeed in defeating them. Aubrey Enable commends video games on how creatively its designers harness code to stimulate a systemic relationship between the world of the game and larger philosophical issues. The systemic relationship is between the perpetrators inflicting violence and the philosophical issues of suffering and evil behavior. Games like Modern Warfare 2 are run on sophisticated game engines that are the architectural building blocks to programming and modeling realistic worlds. The developers have modeled this through the presence of blood, corpses, and loud screaming that shock the audience with the gruesome imagery of this controversial mission that draws influence from acts of terrorism. Therefore, this mission may invite the audience to reflect and question the unexplainable phenomena as to why evil exists throughout human existence. More frequently occurring factors of suffering in Hometown are evident of a father momentarily grieving the death of his wife who was crushed by the rubble. Zeglin operationalized dominance as a mechanism by which to protect family and loved ones by taking responsibility, aligning with the leadership and decisive action Mr. Karim fulfills to protect his daughter.
Sweetheart, I'll go ahead and make sure it's safe. Keep behind me.
Mr. Karim's instructional tone demonstrates leadership of providing guidance for his daughter to stay behind him, as well as maintaining courage in the darkest of times. Through his courageous behavior, it stimulates a paternal relationship for the viewer through the point of view angle of the protagonist in this mission. Therefore, this presents human existence as imperfect due to its representation of real-life social justice issues of war and dictatorship. Both games ultimately showcase the suffering endured by soldiers and individuals, as well as heroism displayed in times of hardship. Gamers may use story-driven games for the gratification of forming virtual relationships with realistic characters, or learning new ideas arising from the narrative's depicted experiences. Through our engagement with first-person shooters, they are impactful to widening our understanding of the world as imperfect, through inevitable hardships, and enabling appreciation of our world's greatest heroes.